Alright, this is going to be a long one. Alright, so just keep up and stay with me. So this is 3-6. This is the last lesson in Unit 3. For algebra, it's absolute value functions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to graph absolute value functions. Alright, so we're going to graph both these absolute value functions, and we're going to state their domain and range. Alright, so you need to know a few things. Alright, so we're going to do the domain and the range. We're going to remember that domain, this is all of your x's, and the range, this is all of the y's. Alright? Now, we have an equation, and we learned it yesterday, and we're going to add to it for the absolute value functions. So your formula is f of x equals a, right, times absolute value, quantity of bx minus h plus k. Now we had h and k yesterday, okay, and today we're adding a and b. Notice A is on the outside, B is on the inside, and both A and B are in front of your x this time. All right, when you have absolute values, you have graphs that look like a V, all right, either right side up V or an upside down V. And the point of those V's is called the vertex. The vertex. All right, now with this vertex, you're going to take your H, okay? Now notice that is h and not the opposite of, and so the opposite of h is h. So we're going to do the opposite of whatever we see in the equation, and then also k. All right, and we've added a is slope, okay? A is slope. In this equation, we've also said m is slope, and we're also going to bring in, we're going to revisit the vertical line of symmetry. All right, we've done the vertical line of symmetry. It didn't go so well. We're bringing it back for this, so hopefully we will learn the concept better with while we're using it. All right, so our first equation. All right, we need the vertex. All right, h. Well, my formula has it minus h, and this is a plus h. A plus 2, that means h. Well, a negative times a negative would give me this positive, so my h would be a negative 2. And then on the outside, we have got negative 1. Take it at face value. So my vertex, all right, my vertex is minus 2 minus 1. Okay, now after we graph our vertex, we are going to draw our line of symmetry. Our vertical line of symmetry. Remember, lines of symmetry are vertical, and we're going to draw it so it passes through our vertex. Okay. And this has a purpose, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. All right. So our line of symmetry. Okay. Now we have our vertex. Now we need our slope. Our slope is in the A position, so the slope is 1/2. All right, so we're going to run our slope from the vertex. So it's 1/2, so go up 1 to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. We're going to run it all the way till we run out of graph. All right, take our ruler. The vertex is the starting point of the line, goes all the way through, And it just keeps going. It actually does not stop at the end of our graph. This graph is just a small snippet, and so it keeps on going, which is what that arrow shows. Now, here's where the vertical line of symmetry comes into play. Okay? So the vertex is on it. Well, our next point here is you start at the line of symmetry. It is 2 to the right. Go back to the line of symmetry on this same line on the graph, and we're going to go in the opposite direction. So we're going to go 2 to the left. Again, start at the line of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right is that point. Back to the line of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. All right, my next dot is here. All right, start the line of symmetry. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Back to the line of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure you're staying on the same graph line as the point on the right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Back to the line of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I've just run out of graph. So I can't do the other ones, and that's okay. Remember, we start at the vertex, and we draw a line through all of our dots, out through the other side. And we're going to put an arrow because it just keeps going. All right. Now, it wanted us to do the domain and the range. Okay. So our domain. Okay, the domain is all of the x's. Okay, the x-axis. All right, and remember, these just keep going. So the domain is actually all real numbers, because it just keeps going. Now my range is my y's. Right? Now my y's have a definite stopping point here. That's the floor of my y, and then it just keeps going up because these lines keep going up. So it's all real numbers, but with a constraint. So it's all real numbers greater than -1. -1 is my y. The range is all the y's. All right. So it just keeps going up, starting at -1, going up with my y's. All right, let's do that one more time. We're going to find our vertex. All right, so we've got the opposite of the -5 is 5, outside is 4. And then my slope, -3. Every time I have a whole number slope, I always put it over 1, so that way I remember to kick it off to the right and not just go straight down. So we're going to do our vertex first. 5, 4. Start at the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my vertex. Alright, so the line, the graph line, the vertical graph line that goes through that vertex. Okay, we're going to draw that line of symmetry, because what we're about to do on the right, we have to mirror on the left, so it's symmetrical. Alright. Now from my vertex, we're going to run our slope. It's -3/1, so -1, 2, 3 to the right 1. 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 And I ran out of graph. Remember, the vertex is the start of the line. Goes through all of the points, keeps going past the graph. All right, We have our line of symmetry, our vertical line of symmetry. Now let's mirror that on the other side. Okay? So we're 1 to the right, we're going to go 1 to the left. My next dot is on this graph line, and 2 to the right, back to my line of symmetry, 2 to the left. My next dot, alright. Line of symmetry, 1, 2, 3. Line of symmetry, 1, 2, 3. Next dot, oops, right here. Okay, line of symmetry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to line of symmetry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so again, the vertex is where you start your line. Draw your line all the way through. All of your dots past the graph. Arrow is going to keep on going. Alright, so again, my domain and my range. Well, the domain remembers all of your x's, and this just keeps on going, so eventually it will just include all of them. So the domain is all real numbers. Alright, and this time we open down. And so our range has a slightly different constraint. So still all real numbers, okay? All real numbers, all the y's going down, all real numbers. But this time, less than the y is 4. Okay, 4 is our constraint. It has to be less than because we open down. All right. We have a big, beefy word problem. You only have one word problem on today's assignment. It's number 7. It's also big and beefy. I only had 2 options for word problems, and it was the one that made me, my eye twitched the least, so that's why I picked number 7. So there's a whole lot that goes along with this, so make sure you stick with me for this, okay? So we're going to graph the function. First, we actually have to put some axis lines on this graph. We're going to find and interpret key features of the graph in the context of the situation. So we're going to talk about a lot of key features in the context of this particular situation. So it says the shape of the roof of a barn can be modeled by this function. Okay, it's absolute value function, where x is distance in feet from the base of the roof, and f of x is the height in feet. Okay. We're going to talk about distance and height here throughout. So one of the things we have to do, and when I was working on this at home, I played around, because when you have to create your graph, you kind of have to play around with the numbering of it. And I decided that I was going to make my blocks worth 5, okay, because that's one of the things you have to do is determine your blocks. And I put my x-axis down here at the bottom. This is my x-axis, and I put my y-axis over here on the left side. Okay, this is my y-axis. Now, when I numbered them, I numbered every other line simply because they're small and they all run together, and I don't want the numbers to all run together. So let's see, this is -5. That would be 0. This would be 5. That's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. All right. Now, because I wanted these to be proportional, I had to make my x and my y axis numbers be the exact same amount. All right. So again, my y, this is -5, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. All right. We're only going to use this little bottom part of our graph anyway. So let's see what we have. Alright, so I always need my vertex. That's first. Alright, my vertex. Alright, so my H. Okay, 20, 10. Alright, so I go over 20 up to 10. That's my vertex. And then I need my slope, because I must run my slope. My slope is in my A position, and it's minus 1/2. Okay? So from here, I'm going to go down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2, down 1 to the right 2. Remember, your vertex is where you start your line. Draw my line all the way through my dots. And my dot was my line, and my dot is a little off, but that's okay. Arrow at the end. Now I need my line of symmetry, okay? Through the vertex. Still need that. Because now I'm going to mirror the right side over to the left side. Alright, so this dot is 2 to the right. Go back to my line of symmetry. 2 to the left. This dot is 4 to the right, so I go 4 to the left. This dot is 6. Go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, just enough. Alright, but now I've run out of graph. So again, the vertex starts my line. Go through all my dots. Cross my graph through the other side and draw an arrow to show it is going to continue. Okay? It's going to continue. Now, let's talk about our features in the context of this very specific situation. Okay, so we're going to start with our vertex. Our vertex tells us a couple of things. Okay, you're going to get the vertex. Okay, now write small because we have a whole lot of stuff we're going to be sticking in here. Okay, a lot of stuff we can notice. The vertex. The vertex gives you your maximum of height, all right? Which the maximum of height is 10, because it's a roof. It's not going to get any higher than 10, okay? That's the top. So the max height, it's 10. Well, this 10 was the k in your equation, all right? So it is 10 feet, okay, because we're talking about feet, and that is the k of your equation. All right, next up, distance. It tells you the distance from your line of reflection to the edge. Line of reflection to the edge. Okay, the line of reflection, 5, 10, 15, 20. 5, 10, 15, 20. It tells you from the line of reflection to the edge, right? It's 20. So the distance from line of reflection to one side is 20 feet, and that is your H. Okay, so that's what your vertex tells you. Alright, now we have a couple of intercepts, if you'll notice. Okay, the line crosses here and here. Those are your intercepts, okay? And the intercepts tell us something as well. So your intercepts. So let's check them out. They are 0, 0, through your origin. And they are 40, 0. Notice the y's are both 0. So what it's telling you is that from zero to 40, from 0 to 40, okay, at 0 and at 40, okay, at 0 and at 40, your height is 0. Or along the ground Or the base of the roof, the height is 0. All right, from here to here. Okay. Here and here. All right. Domain and range. Our domain and range is a little different. Okay. So we're going to make some notes about domain and range in these particular situations. All right. So I want you to make note the domain. Okay. Your domain, we're talking about distance, okay, because domain is all of your x's. Distance. And here's the thing. Distance cannot be negative, okay? So therefore, this part here, it's irrelevant. We can't use that part. We can only use the positive part up here. So my x's stop. My x's are in between these 2 points. So we are in between 0 and 40. Okay, that's my domain. All of my x's. Now my range. Okay, my range is talking about my y's or my height. All right, my height. Remember, f of x is also y. So my range, well, when we talk about measurements, we talk about height. Height also cannot be negative. Okay, so your height cannot be negative. So again, there's a stopping point. So your height is in between 2 numbers. So the range is in between 0 and 10. Okay? All right. So we talked about our vertex, our intercepts, our domain and range. Now let's bring in some stuff we've talked about in prior chapters and prior sections. Talk about the positive and negative. Remember, your positive above your x and your negative below your x. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. So positive and negative. Okay, we're talking about distance and height, okay? And height cannot be negative. There's an E with the negative. Wow, I'm missing like complete syllables. All right, so it cannot be negative, all right? So it's going to always be positive, okay? In this situation, because we're talking about height. All right, now our line of symmetry. A lot of people struggled with line of symmetry when it came time for the test, all right? A lot of people struggled, so let's talk about it. Our line of symmetry is here. It is vertical, and it crosses my x-axis, okay? It crosses my x-axis. So the line of symmetry, your symmetry line, okay? Well, it crosses my x-axis only, so it is x equals, well, where does this line of symmetry cross the x-axis? Well, it crosses at 20, so x equals 20. So that is what we mean by the line of symmetry and what the x equals, all right? It's where it crosses that x-axis, your line of symmetry. All right, one last thing we've covered before and we're going to bring back and talk about for just a quick minute are your end behaviors. So how is the end behaviors? Well, the end behaviors are down here in negative world, right? So do they even matter? Sometimes they don't, and this would be an occasion where they don't matter. Okay, so your end behaviors cannot be negative. Okay, we talked a lot about the situation. We can't be negative when we're doing distance. We can't be negative when we're doing height. So your end behaviors, well, they're just not relevant. Okay, sometimes things aren't relevant in math. All right, that was a whole lot. We talked about a whole lot of features. All right, so go through these one by one when you do number 7. And number 7 starts by asking you what the vertex is. Okay, read it, think about it, come back to your notes. Do them one step at a time. There are a lot of blanks you have to fill in. All right. So let's get down to transformation, okay? That's where we're ending with this unit, is the transformation absolute value functions. All right, I'm going to write my equation down here in the summary, and then we're going to talk about what is going to be happening with the different pieces of it, okay? So we've got f of x equals a times absolute value of b, x minus h, plus k. Now we learned h and k yesterday, okay? We learned that k moves, if it's positive, it goes up. If it's negative, it goes down. We learned that yesterday. And we also learned h, because h is inside, so we learned that we do the opposite, we think the opposite of whatever sign we see, okay? And then if the opposite of whatever sign we see is negative, we go left. And if it is positive, we go right. All right? So that is what we did yesterday when we had parentheses. The same concept with absolute value. Okay? That doesn't change. And let's talk about our b. Okay, b is also inside, so it's going to have some opposite behaviors when it comes to the stretching and compressing. All right, so those are 2 new words today. So this b is horizontal. Okay, it's a horizontal. And it's either a horizontal stretch or compress. And we talk about stretch and compress here in a minute. You'll see what I mean when it has some opposite tendencies compared to the A, which is outside of the uprights. All right? So A. We have A on the outside, okay? And it's on the outside, so instead of horizontal, it is a vertical stretch or compress. Okay. Now, let's talk a little more about stretch and compress, okay? So when you stretch, okay, when the A stretches, A will stretch when A is greater than 1, okay? We can also stretch with the B, but the B will be greater than 0, but less than 1, all right? So that simply means that this is going to be a fraction less than 1, okay? So if you're a fraction that is the value less than 1, with the B, you're a stretch. If you're in the A position and you're greater than 1, you're a stretch. See? The B is the opposite of A. All right. Now let's hit compress. All right. Oh, one last thing. When you stretch, okay, you get skinnier. All right. Now let's talk about compress. Compress. So compress. Okay? So both A and B can compress, but this time A is between 0 and 1, which just means it's a fraction less than 1, okay? Or if it is the B position, that compresses, your B is greater than 1. Again, B has kind of that opposite thing happening. Now, when you compress, you get wider. All right, let's practice. We had 3 to practice with, and I added my other 2 because I wanted you to see a vertical stretch and a vertical compress and a horizontal stretch and a horizontal compress. So let's do these problems here, okay? So this one's absolute value, but it's just like yesterday where it has the H and the K. All right, so H is on the inside. We're going to think opposite, so the opposite of plus is a negative. So this is going to go left 2. Okay, left 2. Then we have negative 4 on the outside. Okay, so that means we're going to go down 4. Down 4. All right, so just like this one, it's just like yesterday. Okay, so the first several you hit going to be just like yesterday. Now, then we have these. We have 3 on the outside and we have 1/3 on the outside in front of my X. All right, let's check it out. So both of these are going to be a vertical change, vertical shift, but one's going to be a stretch and one's going to be a compress. So we have 3 on the outside, and let me see, the A is on the outside and the A is greater than 1. So this is going to be a stretch. Okay. So this is going to be a vertical stretch. All right, so we are still in the A position, so we're vertical, but this time A is a fraction less than 1, so it's going to be a vertical compress. Okay. All right, last 2 things, and then we're done. I know it's been a very long set of notes. Thanks for sticking with me. All right, this time we are in the B position, okay? We are in the B position, so we're going to be horizontal. And B is a fraction less than 1, so it's going to be a horizontal stretch. But we also have this +7, okay? So +7, we're going to have a horizontal stretch. Oh, this is the H position, okay? So opposite. So it's going to have a horizontal stretch. And, all right, we're going to go left 7. All right, now this one. Okay, it's the B position, so we're horizontal. But B is greater than 1, so this time we are horizontal compress. And we move left 7. All right, so that was a lot. Now, the majority of your assignment is very quick and very easy, okay? You're picking out graphs, which you just need your vertex, and you need to know how your slope should run. And then these, vertical stretch, vertical compress, horizontal stretch, horizontal compress. We're adding that on, and then it's just number 7. Okay, number 7 is going to take you some thought. Read it carefully. All right, good luck.